You've totally been there, right? You ask a chatbot something, and it spits out an answer that sounds super confident, but it's just wrong, completely made up. It's so frustrating. But what if the problem isn't just the AI itself, but the fact that it's thinking all alone? What if the key is to make it stop doing that? Well, that's exactly the wild idea we're diving into today. And this right here, this slide gets to the heart of it. Most AIs we use today, they're basically giving a monologue. It's one single stream of thought. But this new approach, which powers models like Grok, completely flips the script. It turns that lonely monologue into a full-on internal debate. And that shift changes absolutely everything.
So, to really get why that internal debate is such a game changer, we first have to talk about the problem with the solo act. Why is a single AI mind, even a really powerful one, so likely to get things wrong?
Well, think about it. Without any kind of internal checks and balances, with no one to push back, a single AI model can just drift. It might start contradicting itself, or worse, just hallucinate facts out of thin air. There's no little voice inside its own system going, hey, wait a second, does that actually make any sense? Okay, this is where it gets really cool. To fix that monologue problem, you need a totally new way for an AI to think, and that's where the idea of a hive mind comes in. Just let that question sink in, because this simple shift is a total game changer. Instead of one lone genius AI trying to be a jack of all trades, what if you had a whole team of specialists, each with their own distinct job, all working together on your question? It's a completely different way to build intelligence. So who's on this dream team? Let's meet the crew. And just to be clear, this isn't one AI just playing different parts. We're talking about distinct agents, each one designed from the ground up to do a very specific job. All right, you've got 4 key players in this cognitive workflow. First up is the planner, who kind of maps out the whole mission. Then you've got the researcher, who goes out and digs up the facts. Next, and this is huge, is the critic, who challenges everything. And then finally, the synthesizer steps in to pull it all together. And each agent has a super clear role. The planner, that's your project manager, laying out the blueprint. The researcher is the diligent fact-checker, making sure the info is actually legit. Now, the critic, this might be the most important one, it's the built-in skeptic, actively looking for holes, biases, and any weak points in the argument. And once all that's done, the synthesizer comes in as the master storyteller, weaving everything into one seamless, coherent response. So, we have the players, right? But the real magic isn't just who they are, it's how they work together. This isn't a simple handoff from one to the next, it's a dynamic, messy, collaborative debate. I love this quote from the source material. Just picture that for a second. Neurons firing back and forth in a network. The researcher finds a piece of data, shoots it over to the critic, who pokes holes in it and sends feedback, which forces the planner to come up with a better plan. It's this constant back and forth, this internal argument, that keeps the whole system from just wandering off a cliff. And all of this leads to this fascinating idea called distributed awareness. The system, as a whole, actually becomes aware of its own thinking process. It can recognize, hey, I'm not so sure about this part, or you know what, that first assumption was totally wrong. And then it can adjust its strategy right there, in real time.
Now, we have to be super clear about this. We are not talking about a machine that feels things or has some kind of inner soul. This is not sci-fi consciousness. What this is a highly sophisticated functional system that's designed to find its own mistakes and fix them before you ever see them. It's all about reliability, not sentience.
So at the end of the day, how does all this teamwork actually lead to a better answer? What are the real-world benefits? In other words, why does the team always win?
So let's quickly recap the old way, the monologue. A single AI might sound like it's thinking, but it's really just simulating reflection. There's no real debate going on, and that's exactly why it drifts into nonsense and just plain makes things up. But the hive mind, it genuinely debates. That internal critic keeps everybody honest. This forces the system to stay grounded in reality and adapt on the fly, especially with tricky questions. And the result is an answer that isn't just more reliable, but a lot of the time it's actually more creative too.
So here's the bottom line. The crucial point is that building this internal team of specialists to argue about a problem isn't just a clever party trick. It's a fundamental shift that leads to AI that's more transparent, more auditable, and ultimately a whole lot more trustworthy. You get a better answer because the AI literally had to argue with itself to find it.
And that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending thought to chew on. We've just seen how a team of relatively simple agents can come together to create a much more complex intelligence. So, what happens next? What happens when these AI teams get good enough to start assembling their own teams, even more specialized, to tackle even bigger problems? That's a future that's coming up faster than you might think.